Hello! The following was recorded at the beginning of last week. Last night, Mrs. Soup said, by the way, did anyone come up with any interesting answers to that question? Mr. Soup, she said. Obviously she doesn't call me Mr. Soup, but you know what I mean. I sort of went, I forgot to publish the video. So the following was recorded, like I said, almost 2 weeks ago, but it's a very interesting question, and it was raised as a result of our time up in Scotland, actually, and our experience of the weather there. So please do watch. Bear in mind that I'm talking to you from the past, although technically all recordings are from the past, I suppose. If you have any thoughts on this, definitely do comment below. I really am eager to hear your take on this particular question. So without any further ado, I'll hand you over to me back then. Yes. Bye.
Hello! Welcome back to another Archaeo-Scope. This series continues to be an attempt to find new ideas, perspectives and points of view by asking you questions. Rather than, as in Questions of Doom, you sending me a question to research and attempt to answer, instead I pose interesting thoughts and questions about the past and the present, and we attempt to discuss them, and through that discussion comes a meta answer, a new perspective, hopefully some interesting points of view. So that's Archaeo-Scope. Now, today's Archaeo-Scope is being filmed in the car. It's another one of those car casts, as they have come to be called by yourselves. And this is for two reasons. The first of those reasons is because today, Theo the Clio is being returned and sort of upgraded for another Clio, but a newer, slightly better Clio. Now, the new Clio will be called Patty, because she seems a little bit fussy, as in Cleopatra. Yeah. Yes, I married the right woman. Both she and I love our puns. So Mrs. Soup and I have already named the new Clio Patty or Patra. Now, nonetheless, that's kind of off to one side. The second reason why I'm filming in the car is because Mrs. Soup is fast asleep. You see, she's halfway through a 2-week holiday, as am I to a certain extent, but my second week, because I'm a bit of a workaholic, is half work, half holiday, so I'm sort of just taking it a little bit more easy, as it were. Nonetheless, this holiday has inspired this question, actually. Last week we were up in Scotland, and we stayed on the shores of Loch Lomond.
Please note, it's actually Loch Lomond. I do know this, but it was early in the morning, and sadly that name, for some reason, is a bit of a mental block for me. Sorry to all you folk who frowned at that point.
We camped at Egg, we ferried out to Muck, stayed in a yurt, we ferried from there to Egg and stayed in a bothy, but also climbed various things, did lots of walking all over the place. Saw a castle called Chirham Castle, which was actually very impressive, even though we couldn't actually gain access because the masonry was a bit dodgy. But nonetheless, we had a grand time. But during this first week away, something occurred on Egg which inspired today's video. Now, we were walking up probably one of the steepest parts of the island towards the Sker, which is this very impressive shard or formation, I suppose, of volcanic rock. Now, all of the islands that we stayed on actually have very impressive volcanic formations. For example, next to the yurt on Muck, they had this wonderful cooling of lava formations on the beach there. I had a grand time climbing over them. But on Egg, we were trying to get to close to the top of the Sker. Mrs. Soup isn't great with heights, so we didn't go all the way to the top. As we were climbing, we were walking along. It was a wonderful day, not wet at all, actually. We were very lucky with the weather. It was very sunny and very windy, and this had two effects. First of all, it meant that we couldn't feel the heat of the day because it was very windy. But also the wind was essentially blowing all the moisture out of our faces, wind burn. So we're getting sunburned and wind burned at the same time. And when we returned to our bothy on Egg, basically our faces were rather well, looked like we've been slapped about. You know, very bit red here and there, a little bit flaky perhaps on the nose. Basically, we needed some moisturiser, maybe some lip balm, this kind of thing. And we all got talking, and the conversation that came out of this moisturising, this group moisturising, was just how on earth did people in the past deal with the perils of the wind and the rain and the weather bothering your face. And I have to say, isolated as I was, no internet, no books in this bothy, I couldn't fully answer the question. So when I got home, I thought, well, I'll look into this a little bit more. And actually, yes, okay, fair enough. You know, back to a certain point, for example, to the ancient Egyptians, there are records of cosmetics, of sort of moisturisers, of face pâtés that you sort of cake on, and it's good for your skin. But beyond that, really, into very early history and then prehistory, it's very hard actually to find evidence of this. Yet arguably, prehistory is a time when such things would be even more necessary. I'm thinking of, in particular, the last glacial maximum around about 18 to 21,000 years ago, when weather conditions would have been incredibly harsh on the skin. So not only would they have had to produce wonderful clothes, which we all know about, wonderful composite clothing where each element of the clothes are carefully chosen to do the best job at insulating body heat, keeping the core nice and warm, but also presumably they would have had to have had skin care as well. But I can't really find much evidence for this. There are, here and there, references to, for example, residue of blubber or residue of, say, goose fat found in bowls or on hollowed-out surfaces, this kind of thing, or in shells, perhaps, which have been used to, like a clam, to store this stuff. But that's not necessarily for skin care. To be honest, actually, I don't really know enough about the chemistry. That may actually not be all that good for your skin. I'm presuming it's not too bad, but may not be all that good. That could, in fact, actually be simply storing fuel, for example, for a whale blubber lamp, this kind of thing. So that's basically what it boils down to. My Archaeo-Scope this week, or rather today, is simply just wondering, how did people in the past look after their skin, in particular during the last glacial maximum, when temperatures, wind speeds, the wind chill would have been incredibly harsh on the skin. And also, of course, you've got the double whammy of sunlight being doubled up through reflection from ice and snow. So as harsh as things were for us walking up Egg, and as much as our faces seemed dried out at the end of that, I can't help but wonder that can't help but assume that people in the past had it much worse, and therefore had to treat it in some way. So that's it. This particular Archaeo-Scope, I haven't got a big long list of evidence and thoughts and things to draw on in this discussion. Really, that's what it boils down to. There's some scant evidence that I've come across for the storing of animal-based products, but beyond cosmetics, it's very hard actually to find evidence of skincare practices in the deep past. So, what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on this? What would work? Would whale blubber work? Would for example, goose fat work? And maybe there's a paper out there that I've missed. If there is, please do feel free to share it below. Yeah, there you go. It's an interesting question, a very particular question, but also one that I'm actually struggling to come up with a good answer to. So if you can help me out, I'd be very much in your debt. I'd very much appreciate it. Now, incidentally, it's well worth just sharing this mug, by the way. This is it's an early birthday present. My birthday is tomorrow, my 29th birthday. I'll be entering my 30th year. But I won't make a big thing of that, because I know many of you, the people who watch these videos, are much older than me and will simply laugh at me if I make a big thing about turning 30 or entering my 30th year. Anyway, this mug was given to me yesterday, and it is an Eddie Izzard mug, and it does these things. It says, cake, or death. And you get a piece of chalk on which you get to with which you get to choose what you're going to have. And I have, of course, I've chosen cake here because cake, I think, is better than death. Cake or death? Cake or death? If you don't know what I'm talking about, simply look it up on YouTube, cake or death, and you'll find it. So I'm planning on having a relaxing work week. So you can expect a few more videos from me this week. But ultimately, yeah, also, please do have a bit of a think about this question. Because I certainly haven't been able to find any really good evidence for such practices in the past. And maybe there are some contemporary practices that would have a bearing on how people might behave in the past. Perhaps there's some sort of middle-range archaeology here, or middle-range theory archaeology that we can do. Do you know of any old cures, any sort of mother's cures or whatever for skin moisturising and getting moisture back into the skin when it's been buffeted out by the weather? Please do share your thoughts below. Until next time, as ever, do take care. Bye-bye.